But what is that definition, Demon Mama?
Wait, what is the
You say we have a
definition that we
shit
use
ass
right now?
definition. What is the definition you're talking about?
It is it's an incoherent, literally
Yes,
impossible
the
to
description of the definition, but what is the definition?
Wait, what is the definition? There isn't a single one. We have a hodgepodge,
Okay, so then
and the
what are you trying to
hodgepodge
abolish?
is the definition.
What-
I'm trying
what-
to
what-
I'm trying to abolish the hodgepodge.
What definition are you using?
What definition do
Well, I
I
don't-
use? I mean, if I was
me,
to write
well-
out like a formal, like philosophy, I mean, I'm not a formalist, you know, like do formal logic bullshit. But the process that I've used, the document that I have is that gender is a form of identification. Identification can be self-determined, and
Okay, this is so stupid. So Demon Mama keeps saying, "Oh, people don't understand gender. People don't understand gender." And then when two people on the panel say, "Well, okay, what is this definition of gender that you think is so terrible that people don't understand?" She doesn't have an answer. She says it's a hodgepodge. It's a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
How can you say you're in favor of abolishing gender if you can't even define what it is that you're trying to abolish?
Well, she seemed to be in favor of the hodgepodge and wanting to abolish it at the same time too, which seems kind of contradictory. But
right, well, if there wasn't a hodgepodge, she wouldn't have an argument. First of all, she doesn't have an argument. You have to be able to define the thing you're talking about. If you're claiming something is bad, you obviously need to be able to explain what it is.
yes, and why it's bad would be good. That would be that would be the follow-up question I would ask.
Yeah, because she's not.
Now that
she's
we've
not
defined it, why is that bad?
Right, because she's not saying, well, it's a confusing definition, and I think it needs to be simplified. Now she's saying she wants to abolish the concept. Okay.
Of gender, huh? It's crazy to me. I don't understand how you can be trans and a gender abolitionist. I guess because they're categorizing trans as non-binary.
I understand it. It's because, well, there's two. I think there's two factors here. The first is that a lot of the trans activists want to completely remove any procedures or gatekeeping when it comes to transitioning. So they want anyone to basically, not obviously, I'm not saying this is all trans people, but I'm saying the online trans activists seem like they want to basically have anyone at any age be able to say, I'm trans, and then you just accept it. And that's
drive through transitioning.
Yeah, someone says they're trans and they say, okay, here's your hormone blockers, here's your hormones, here's your surgery. You know, bing, bong, boom. That's all they want to do.
Bing, bong, boom.
Bing, bong, boom. And then the second part of it is that they're tired of trying to, because most of the trans activists want to remove the boundary between trans and cis. So if you're like a trans woman, that's why they would say, you know, trans women are women. They're trying to remove the categorical distinction between a trans woman and a woman. Say like they're both the same. Okay. Which obviously we all understand that that's not true. It doesn't mean that you have to treat trans women poorly or differently or wrong, but obviously there is a categorical distinction between the two. And so I think that they feel like if they just remove the concept of gender 100%, then they're kind of like subverting the argument. They don't have to make the argument anymore that trans women are women because there's no gender in the first place whatsoever.
Yeah.
Quick question. So before we do this, just random. It looks like Destiny wants to join this, right? And I said this is not like an all trans thing. So, but I'm gonna ask the panel. If you don't want that to happen, that's okay.
Bring him in.
I will say no.
Destiny is an agender legend, all right?
I will say no.
Okay.
You're okay, Alice. Everyone has to be okay. I don't want.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe.
Bring in the killer of gender.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then let's bring him in. Okay, but you can respond to anything you want, Joe, as to what was just said.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I definitely understand that as your personal working definition of gender. I think there's a slight complication in that, what are you identifying as? Like, I understand that someone is, it's a bit of like, because I have heard this argument before and I've written it out and it automatically becomes a tautology in that you can't identify as something without knowing what that thing is. If you make,
is there a status hierarchy of passing in the trans community? I'm curious.
Of course there is. Of course.
Really?
But
that's
well,
cold.
here's the question.
That's cold.
Well, no, obviously
cold.
there is. I don't know if it's spoken about regularly. I'm assuming it is talked about. But the question
privately,
I have, yes,
not publicly.
But here's the question: is that in trans activist circles, do people who pass better get more power and status or less? Because they would be less oppressed than the people who don't pass as well.
That's a good question. Very curious.
No, I understand. Like, honestly,
Oh,
I went
I would
around
encourage
and
you.
around and around with this.
Listen, trust me. I promise you that. Oh, hi, Destiny. Yeah.
Oh, look. Oh, look. Are we going to get an answer here? I'm not sure. We were waiting for an answer on the definition of gender.
On the
I think.
gender definition. Well, it's
Yeah.
better to just pivot and not talk about
I
it.
think it's a pivot here. Yeah,
Right.
an unpointed out pivot.
We'll see.
I promise you, with that context being perfect, yeah, I've gone around and around and around on this topic. In fact, I've been challenged by a number of people on this. I don't think that it's like any sort of like, well, other terms have been used. I even think I was wrong to identify it as a tautology. I think it's very possible linguistically. The statement that like, God, here we go. We're going to start it over again. But the idea that a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman is a perfectly valid definition.
That's the you just identify as woman. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the big definition that we're striving towards. And the question she asked is not answered.
Revolutionary.
Right. And the question she asked is not answered, which is, how can someone identify as something that doesn't exist,
Yes, there we go.
that they don't have a sense of, right? It's completely insane, especially if you're talking about gender dysphoria, where you say someone is born with this. How can you be born wanting to identify as the opposite gender if gender is a social construct and doesn't exist in nature?
Excellent
Doesn't
question.
make sense. Doesn't make sense.
You can take it up with.
Like, I completely understand it's a definition that might work for you, but in terms of
No,
like
it's not. It's not about. It's not
formalism,
about it working for me. It's not. It's
doesn't-
not logically flawed. I've
It
gone over this like
logically,
15 times.
So,
Yeah.
Joe, take over while you're yelling at Demon. I'll be right back. I just need to go to the bathroom, but I'll be right back.
No,
Joe, I have a solution here. Okay, let's just embrace gender piratry. Okay, all of us, we can be gender pirates, sailing the wide seas of life together, doing whatever the fuck we want, and then it'll be fine. We'll just be pirates. It'll be
I
cool.
agree.
We can hang out. We can like walk gangplanks or whatever the fuck pirates do. It'll be a great time.
Yeah, no, I agree. All I'm saying is like when you say you identify as a woman, what is a woman?
Yeah, what does that mean?
It's something that
Yeah,
you
a
identify
woman-
as.
Yeah,
Which
no.
is
A
what?
woman is a identifier. You are allowed to identify with many different identifiers, and what a woman means to you.
So a symbol.
What? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's
Represents
simple.
a concept. So
Yeah,
a
but the symbol represents a concept
concept.
that changes constantly, that is inherently contextual.
That's true of all concepts, though.
Yes. Yes. You're
Okay.
getting to it.
Wait,
yes.
here I just have such a quick.
So it sounds like, because Diva Mama really doesn't want to answer this question.
No, of course not.
Terrified of answering this question. And
She's
I've
answered it 15 times already, Sitch. The longer she goes through the logic, the clearer it is.
Well, and I've heard this argument a million times, which is that, if a definition of a concept changes even somewhat slightly over the time period or across cultures, that means that the concept doesn't exist, and you can just change it however you want. So she's
Wrong.
saying like, oh, since the concept of what it means to be a woman is changing, that means there really isn't a concept of a woman whatsoever. It's just a completely moot category. But I
Gender
also want to
exists in
identify as
every single society. There is. Yeah.
right. But I also want to identify as this concept that's ever changing and is thus meaningless. And it's very important that not only that I identify as this meaningless, ever changing concept, but that everyone else recognize that I am also this meaningless, ever changing concept.
Yeah. Oh, that's a tough sell. That's a
It's
tough sell.
It's just completely contradictory. It's so insane.
I'm so curious about this topic. Do you think that anybody could identify as anything?
No, well, I mean, I think they probably could, but I don't think it would be very useful for them to do so. And I'm talking about building a useful definition.
Sure. So do we have a lot of people in society that identify as chairs?
Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Did you hear that? He made the attack helicopter joke. Oh,
He did.
That's so transphobic.
Thank
So
goodness he didn't.
transphobic.
He didn't actually say attack helicopter.
I know. He said chair. Oh,
This is the type of thing that I think is this is like literal trolling. A chair. Now, a chair is an incredibly, first of all, we all know that the meme.
If you
about
want, I
chairs
can just
is
walk you to the
incredibly-
end of like my line of questioning. If you think
no,
I'm just
I
gonna
don't
troll
really.
you. Well, because if the question upsets you, I can just walk
I mean,
you.
if you ask me a question and then you are like, haha, it's gonna be my gotcha. Yeah.
Well, no,
go
no,
for it,
I
if you really want.
literally
If you
just
didn't- if you
offered-
didn't-
I-
if you were- if
I-
it was just a, if it was just a, like a hypothetical thing, you wanted to come in and be like, hey, you want me to answer that question for you, laddie?
Demon.
Okay, so
just
I literally,
type
I'm
Arco.
offering to just go to the end of this like dialogue tree.
I do agree. That's hilariously snarky to be like, let me ask you a question and then let me tell you the answer to the question and why you're wrong.
Tree so that it
It's
doesn't
still
feel like
funny,
I'm trying.
though. It's good. It's totally good rhetorically.
It is good
It
rhetoric,
works
yes.
rhetorically.
It
You
is
want?
good rhetoric,
Let me just school you here. Is basically what he said. Here, let me school you on this.
Well, he said it's a good line. Say, let me walk you to the end of the dialogue tree, because then you're saying, oh, this person's an NPC. They don't have any
Yeah.
thoughts, you know.
Trying
Go
to set
for
up a
it.
gotcha because I'm
Go
just
for
curious.
it.
So because my
jump to
question
the
is
end of the dialogue tree for us.
Okay, so my question would be is could anybody identify as a chair? Now, obviously, I think most people in here would say no, obviously not. And the reason why is because even if chair is just some arbitrary category or whatever, it represents some like line concept. Now, there are many different types of chairs. They are chairs of different colors. Some have 3 legs, some have 4 legs. But broadly speaking, we kind of sort of have this category of chair that we understand means a certain thing. And for a person to say, oh, well, I am a chair, like doesn't really make much sense. Like not every concept can just be anything. Otherwise, no concept would be anything, right? Like they have to have some sort of content within the concept for it to be meaningful. So it just seems weird to say that like anybody could just say,
oh my God.
He's making sense.
Categories have to have boundaries to have meaning. Oh, how has no one ever realized this before?
Don't they even call them bounded categories, Sitch?
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
Maybe they do.
Sorry. That bounded, that's called the boundary.
Well, it's weird because
That
they
bounded
simultaneously they want to have it both ways, because they simultaneously make the argument that there is no boundary and anyone can identify as anything, right?
Mhm.
But they also make the exact opposite argument, which is that they say, oh, well, there's no such thing as a category of a woman because there are people that we consider women that have, Y chromosomes, or can't have children, or don't have breasts, or blah 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 blah. So they're making the exact opposite argument. They're saying everything can exist in the category, but also the category doesn't exist because there's too many variations within the category.
Outliers. Too many outliers.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous. This is not how humans create categories. Like, this is what's so stupid. They say, oh, if you can find me, and the guy or woman, I don't know how they identify. I don't want to insult anyone. The person in the bottom left, okay, makes his argument earlier in the stream, where they say, as long as you can find a single person who does not fit the standard category, who's an outlier, that proves the category should be demolished or doesn't exist.
Ridiculous.
They literally make this insane argument.
I am a woman, and then we pretend that like that concept is devoid of all meaning because it might have changed a little bit throughout history. Like, for instance, the definition of an automobile or a car has changed throughout history, but that just because something changes isn't an argument that it doesn't exist or it doesn't mean anything.
Should have said vehicle, but anyway.
But no, but I never.
Well, it's better, right?
Right.
Vehicles changed, right? Stagecoach
Well, cars
was a
changed. Cars
vehicle.
have changed, right? Cars have changed dramatically since their first inception.
Sure, but a motorcycle's a vehicle, and so is a car.
Right.
Yeah.
Never have made the argument.
Vastly different. What about a jet ski? Jet ski. I'm feeling very jet ski today. I'm jet ski gender.
That it doesn't exist or that it doesn't mean anything.
But that's
I just
exactly
think
what you said earlier. So
No,
Joe
it
asked a
isn't. What
question and you responded. You said, well, yeah, but this definition is fluid and it changes and it means a lot of different things. It's a hodgepodge
Yeah,
of things.
it's
Like, it can be, but-
it's particularly nuanced. If you look at the history of gender and the way that we use these words, again, like I said before at the beginning of this conversation, which I understand you may have missed, is that gender as it currently exists is an absolute hodgepodge that most people don't even know what it means.
So
And
the
what
problem when
I
you
think is-
say things.
No, what
when
I
you
think is, hold on, I was talking. I know you're excited, but the
My favorite part of all this is I conceptualize this as just completely rationalizing, like just searching for arguments to rationalize any position.
Of course.
So it's just a window into people rationalizing insane things.
Right.
Because the more insane things that you want to rationalize, the more insane arguments you're forced to go to.
Of course. And look, if she wants to say that people's definition of gender is stupid, you have to say what the gender definition is that they're working from that you think is stupid.
Yeah.
You can't just hand wave it away as a hodgepodge. This is a ridiculous argument.
Hodgepodge. It's not really a hodgepodge, though. I mean, we're pretty clear on this stuff.